All right, welcome to the final day of August. This is the Corrections Code Enforcement Committee meeting. Present today are appointed officials, Public Safety Commissioner Justin Day, Finance Officer Chandra Phillips, Councilman Brad Schramm, and Councilman Joe Hockett, Jail Administrator Lori Kalenda, and Assistant Jail Administrator Jeff Augsburger. I think we're going to move fast today because of scheduling, and I'll turn it over to you guys.
All right, Lori, go ahead.
Today we have 161. For the month of August, we averaged 166, and for the year, we're at 161. The next sentence I don't even want to say out
No,
loud.
don't say it.
Well, we hired 2 more people. They have accepted the positions and they started work already.
Will you be interviewing anytime soon?
No.
Okay. Do you see that last line?
I did, but if somebody comes in and wants to apply, interview them.
All right. You're not allowing me to drop the jinx?
No, we're asking very politely, please don't say it.
It's a good day. Very good.
That's about all we have for the corrections side.
Talk to us about your revenues and expenses. What do you see happening? As you're looking at your reports weekly, are you happy where your revenues are? And are you happy with how you're controlling your expenses?
Revenues, I foresee, as you noticed, our transports are going up. With our numbers, I see we're gonna be catching up a little bit there. Expenses, I mean, the one lines that we're over, I think, you know, there was a question about our uniform line. You know, we did have to buy heavy there for a while because of but the rest, I think we're pretty much right on track. For vehicle repairs was up because we had some issues with a couple vehicles that we need to, and we hopefully address that in our budget for next year.
So your revenues are kind of like the expense question you just asked me. Why are they low for this time of year? So our system, when we do our budget, we state that we're going to use a certain amount of cash. Well, I have to show that as a revenue in, but unfortunately I can't show that we receipted in that cash into our system. So when you look at the revenue page, you'll see that part of their revenues is $914,508 worth of cash that they're gonna use. If you were to actually take that out, so you just look at their true revenues,
It wasn't really revenue, the 900, was it?
It is.
It was from the year before.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes. So they're at 68%, and currently through August, we are at 67% through the year. So their revenues are right on. So I just, because it looks bad saying that they're only at 57%, but you do have to take that 900,000 out of there, because they already have that money, it's just our system doesn't show that, unfortunately.
Why would we, talking about 911 communications, the general fund, why don't we do this transfer and let that be in there from the beginning?
I'm sorry,
Because you're transferring from the
Oh.
same fund.
I didn't hear your question.
Yeah, I know. So, like in 911, in the general, we've made a concerted effort to transfer funds in or build up balances where during the course of the year, it stays in the black the whole year.
Yep.
When
And-
you do a transfer into 911 or the general, you're transferring it from one fund to another. But where this is within the same fund, they already have that cash in there. I can't show it as a transfer because it's already there.
But it's in the budget at 914,508. It's in the budget to show it there.
I don't think it should be budgeted revenue.
I have to, otherwise.
Yeah,
your-
you have
your
to.
No, I
budget-
understand you have to, but,
It's the accounting
yeah,
principles.
but it's not revenue.
It's kind of like contingency, though. Maybe in a sense like contingency. It's part of your budget. It's unappropriated from the year before, and you know you're going to use it. we've used contingency and earmarked money, but we didn't go through with the transfer. So the contingency looks good, and we've got these things, the expectation, we need to just, that's probably a better example. The contingency, we move those funds, we've decided we'll move those funds when council motions as a group to do it. The minute these are budgeted, I don't know. I don't like it.
It's just how the system works, unfortunately, because the cash is there, it already shows that it's
it's
cash
there.
in there. So to put it towards that specific line, there isn't a way to do that. Unless it's coming from a different fund to transfer it.
But that's probably a typical government way of bookkeeping, because they want to call it revenue, so that it looks like we generated this. Well, we didn't, we generated this over the few years before.
Yeah, we generated it, but not now.
Yeah, but we
Right.
called it income 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It's really just, that's me, it's just a savings account is really what we did. We took it out of our, what we had, we're
So,
using it.
we have the government principle here showing it as cash. Why is the Omnigo not showing it? It's not, it's an Omnigo, or not Omnigo, excuse me, but
Whatever our bookkeeping
Encode
is, yeah.
issue to not show it there.
Because if you look at municipal jail revenue, we didn't have almost 6 million in revenue. We had almost
You had a
$1
little-
million less than that in revenue. What we sold in this fiscal year was this. So I don't know what their process is, but
700,000 of that, correct me if I'm wrong, is the transfer we made to sanitation. It has to show
yep.
as cash on hand so we can expense it out on this side. And
I understand that,
That's what
but
it
it
should-
still is
it
not
should-
revenue.
it should still show here.
Yep.
According to
But as long as
accounting
we're explaining that
principles-
every time we see a report, then it makes sense, because I was questioning, how come we're almost 3/4 through the year and we only have 57% of our stuff
Yeah.
spent? You know,
Yeah, I agree with that.
so when she explained it, we're right on the button, so
Accounting
put that in a
principles.
different column,
You
different
have to be a
line.
CPA, Brad.
No, it's accounting
Good thing I'm
principles.
not. Because I'll tell you what, 2 + 2 is anything the boss wants it to be.
No. I do like to follow rules.
Did we have that discussion earlier?
Yeah. So you have the same principle over on your expense side. If you look on the last page of your expenses, it does show operating transfers out. They're budgeting to transfer out $1.3 million.
That's not expense. That's,
They're transferring it.
And the only difference is it shouldn't be in the expense column, that's all,
So,
and that's all
in
that
every other department,
estimated.
it's not, so that's something that I've gotta check with, why it went to 4520. It's actually a separate line in every other department, just not in theirs. So it doesn't show as their real expenses, it shows that it's a separate transfer out, it is an expense, but it's separate from their day-to-day.
It's an
expenses.
expenditure, it's not an
Yes.
expense.
Correct. So I gotta look at why it's showing it there.
Hold on.
It's just a simple
See,
change.
you think I don't know anything.
Right there.
I'm not saying that. I want to know the difference between an expense and an expenditure.
You go right ahead.
No, I want you to tell me.
An expenditure is anything that takes money out of your money. An expense is anything that is a cost of doing the project that you're doing.
You are correct.
I'm not
I didn't go
sure
broke in
that's
4
the
different
Webster's
companies
dictionary
because of,
version, but
for
I
any
get what
reason.
you're saying.
What did you say?
They have transferred out 700,000, and it is showing out of the correct line, but so there's a third page to corrections expenses that's just not here,
Would you like your meeting back?
so I just wanted you to know that.
No, we're just watching at this point.
I know.
So Chandra, you said our.
I've been wrong
we
before.
spent 67%.
Neither one of us are right, but it's interesting how they describe it.
Let me tell you where.
It's defined as an expense or purchases to increase revenue.
Okay,
Expenditures are made to improve the long-term value of the company, not to improve revenue, but the value.
not
of
an
the company.
expense.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are different, but,
Yep.
so
Yep.
I'm wrong, they're different, and by definition, interesting.
Because if our company is the city of Winter, it's
It
an
is.
expenditure. We're taking it
Or the
from,
enterprise.
taking it from a profit center and putting it into a nonprofit center, a center that isn't creating a profit.
Correct, which is the expenditure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree, there is a difference.
Yep.
Shit, I learned something new today.
That's right, that's good.
No Dunning-Kruger here.
Well, you can take the rest of the day off.
I was gonna say, no Dunning-Kruger here for you and I.
Of your true expenses, you're at 62%.
62,
At 62,
and that's at the end, right today.
and we're 9 months,
And you're at 67% through the year.
We're
So
8
their
out of
expenses
12.
are under.
Yeah.
Their revenues are over by a percentage, their expenses are under by 5%, or 0.05%.
All right.
and it's not like
Is
you
that all?
can get any
Lori?
more
I mean,
customers
Look
over about
Look what
that.
you started. Or look what I started by asking you
That's
about
a good
your,
question, 'cause
this is the fun part of the year where we get to watch. And there are gonna be examples that I will show as a council and as different departments. There were a couple issues this year where revenues were way down below even, and we need to watch that, and we needed to watch their expenses. These do need to be a huge part of the committees going forward from September until we get to next April. Finishing out this year, getting out of the gate next year. That being said, code enforcement.
Yes,
You are our
Chelsea
code
has-
enforcement guy.
yes,
No, Chelsea's on vacation.
That's what I was gonna
Okay.
say. Chelsea has been on vacation, much needed for her, so, not a lot to report there. A couple of, building permits done. And then we have Chelsea will be back for this one, but, then we have a variance, request going before P and Z, the next P and Z meeting.
So you'll be running the next P and Z meeting?
No, she'll be back for it,
She'll be back.
yeah.
You're good at doing, building
I'm
permits.
good at doing easy building permits.
Okay,
All
but talk
these
to
have
council
been-
about how you're also filling in other roles.
That's pretty much where I've had to spend the majority of in code enforcement, over the last or the last week. So they've been pretty simple building permits that didn't really need a variance or anything like that, so we got the checks and
Are you running the quadrants?
Running the what, please?
Quadrants.
you know, that is, Chelsea and I are going to spend some time doing that when she returns.
Good thing, because I'd like to see you mow my lawn.
You're seeing it as the city of Winter.
I am a mess. Oh, my goodness sakes. I couldn't even park in my driveway last night, so.
You know, there are certain amendments, one being the fifth. You should use that one a lot more, Brad.
Have you seen?
I have not.
What my yard looks like?
Yeah, I come by and I saw that
I mean,
grass up.
they put up an orange fence, but just left it laying on the ground. They didn't even stand it up. Cause you
Oh,
could,
when they ripped your retaining wall out.
yeah, you could
Yeah.
fall off and hurt yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so don't
Yeah, I
talk to
saw
me about the
that.
Fifth Amendment.
Yeah, I did see that. That's what you're talking about, okay. Yep, I did see that.
Yeah, but now I won't have to break the law by putting my drain tile discharge into the city sewer system.
Which,
Because they agreed to put it into the storm sewer. So that was good.
Where it should go. Yeah.
So, yeah, I went out and finally took a picture of it today, cause it's just a mess.
that's it.
Fifth Amendment.
Council, yours, any questions for corrections or code enforcement?
I have a concern. And it still goes back to these hay bale things. And my question is how our city should respond when we are in the process, and I mean, it's a lengthy process of trying to change things, okay? And this is just for thought, food for thought, if you will. We have a hay bale ordinance which says that you can't have bales of hay inside the city limits. That ordinance has been in the book since 46
Something.
Yeah.
or something like that, okay? So it's there. So we have a complaint filed about hay bales being stacked in the city of Winter. And now those hay bales are gone, which is good, as it should be. We still have hay bales in the city limits of Winter that are still laying on the ground, haven't been moved. And I was told that, well, we can't do anything because we're changing the ordinance. I disagree with that, and that's why I want to make it at this meeting. If we're thinking about, and we are, thinking about the stop sign on the old ambulance
Emergency
route,
route.
okay? And we've been talking about that for a while, and the Public Works Director just hasn't got the stop sign down yet. Using the theory that we're currently working under on the hay ordinance, I'm gonna go run that stop sign and see if you give me a ticket. Because the explanation that I got was that because it's in discussion of changing it, I can't enforce it. Now, that's probably an attorney question, but in my uneducated opinion, that's absolutely crap,
I agree.
okay? If the ordinance is there, it ought to be enforced until the city council changes the ordinance.
I agree.
And this individual on whatever street it is, because I won't remember, that has hay bales laying out in the boulevard of our street ought to either receive a ticket or move the bales. And that ought to be done, should have been done, when it was first complained about by whoever lodged the complaint. Now, I don't care if we're going through the process of changing it, so be it. But until it gets changed, I believe it ought to be enforced.
Can I
And
respond?
this is the place to do that.
May I respond?
Yes.
You bet.
Okay.
That's why I bring it up.
Yep, because part of that, everybody is sticking on one point of that ordinance that is being looked at, the hay bales. That is very clear in there. But that ordinance also goes on to say, or any other flammable material.
Okay?
It's very much like how our Jake Break ordinance was written. It was written long ago, and it was an unenforceable ordinance because of the way it was written. The previous ordinance stated that because of a mechanical issue, well, a Jake brake has nothing to do with a mechanical issue, it's an engine brake. So therefore, anytime we heard Jake brakes go off, the only way that we could have enforced that with our current ordinance was if it was a mechanical issue. Therefore, that ordinance had to be changed in order to be enforceable. So with this other ordinance, with the hay bale portion, if we do the hay bale, which I'm fine with, but we will do the entire ordinance in its entirety.
And
so
I
that
agree
is
with
where,
that.
If
yep,
you have
and
a-
that is
If you have a
where,
stack of wood by your garage. that is a
100%.
Flammable
yes.
situation.
This is where we have stated that it is almost unenforceable because of the entirety of that ordinance. So we can't get stuck on the one word in there that has become the hot button issue. Because if we're going to enforce it, we are going to enforce it fully. So that is why, as we say now.
May I interject?
Yes.
There is.
Do you have enough room in the jail for all these that we're gonna enforce?
We can't put, we don't have any jail
No,
time.
it's not a jailable
The
offense.
city doesn't have a jailable offense.
Lighter moment.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
I
so that's-
understand that, but
and
I was
that's-
told that when we only had a jail that would hold 5.
Yeah.
Because we do not have an ordinance in our books that puts somebody in jail other than while recovering from inebriation. That's the only reason that we had a 5-person jail back in the old days when the county ran their jail. Okay? We don't have, there's not a city law requiring somebody to go to jail. But
So-
they can sleep it off.
Oh, yeah,
And
100%.
that's why we had a jail. Yep.
So that just to give the other side of that, Brad.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. So because, okay, so what, if I understand what you're telling me, if we enforce
One.
the
and
fact
not
that
all.
the hay bales are in the boulevard of the city of Winter, then we're gonna have to go look at every stack of wood up touching a garage.
Otherwise, you're selective enforcement. We
Correct.
don't- We
Yep.
can't do that. We
And
can't
that's-
selectively enforce these
Then
ordinances.
thank you
Exactly.
for that.
Yes, and that's why I just wanted to remind
That's why I bring the
everyone
stuff
to-
up,
Yeah,
because-
absolutely. I appreciate this
Quite
opportunity.
honestly, we should repeal what's on the books right
Yes.
now and have nothing.
I agree 100%.
Until ordinance committee comes with something. On Monday, we should repeal that ordinance if we're not going to enforce it.
It's very hard, because it was written with such a broad stroke that I think, like many of the ordinances that have been written in the past, it was done with such a broad stroke to accomplish one thing.
That was before we had so many attorneys.
You're probably right, but that's where that comes from. So it's not that we are against enforcing an ordinance, we're not.
Okay.
But the fact is if we're going to do it, we're going to
It's touchy.
do the entire.
And
because
that has
selectable-
to be a misunderstanding on my part when, in my mind, I heard her say that because we were reevaluating the thing, she can't enforce it. That's probably
No,
not what she said.
and that's not.
But that's what I heard.
Absolutely.
And it's been bugging me ever since.
Yes.
You know, and so.
Yep.
And I don't go to her office, and so wait for a meeting and.
Yep, absolutely.
She's been working here 6 months and she's on vacation. Just like our president.
No,
You
she's
go
been
down
here
any
10
alley
months.
in
I feel
winter.
like we're
10
getting into
10.
personnel.
10 months.
Yes,
Time.
10 months. But that's where that came from. So, because selective enforcement is nothing that we will ever do,
On that
so.
particular ordinance, you go down any alley in winter over here. you're gonna
So I
see- you're
probably
gonna
would
see
get a ticket.
Violations of that ordinance on
Yeah.
any alley, so there you have, we probably should repeal it and go forward with a more appropriately written deal.
We are in the
That's it.
process of that. In fact, I think I got Austin to agree yesterday at ordinance meeting. I'm not certain, but I think we're in unanimity on the committee.
Okay.
That's another big word I just learned too, Jody.
Hay
like
bales
it.
in the ag zoned area or out?
Yeah, I can say this, only in ag and industrial.
Thank you, it should be, that's the way it should
And
be.
never stacked. It can't be a stack.
Now, can you guys put
But
something?
then we also say that you may have small hay bales.
Okay, perfect.
For decorations on a temporary
Yes.
basis, and I think temporary, was that 3 months, I believe? And for a dog shelter, and that's also, or animal shelters for the 3 months. So shudder to think it gets cold in October and doesn't get warm till May, that, the dog still might freeze to death, but pick which 3 months you wanna keep him warm.
Okay.
But, and it still doesn't address, it takes out and other flammable materials. Because I want to have a stack of wood close to my house, okay? There might be something to say for a stack of wood close to my neighbor's house, okay? But we already have those ordinances,
We do.
okay? So we
Yeah.
don't need to have that in this ordinance.
I agree.
So that's what we're trying to do, is make it as fair and simple as possible. If we have the opportunity of a company coming in that's gonna utilize straw or hay bales
Yes.
in an industrial area, They need to be able to store them there, but we are not gonna let them be in a stack more than one. So that way, and the reasoning is, if in the event we have a fire, so seldom but so devastating if we do,
Yep.
okay? They'll be able to go in there with a tractor and loader and take one bale out,
Yep.
and they're done. Move it away from the rest of the bales, so.
Yep. I really do like the approach of a possible repeal until it gets.
And maybe that's something
lined
that,
out.
maybe we should consider that
I'm
for
gonna-
Monday's meeting.
I'm gonna put it on Monday's agenda to repeal that ordinance and let you guys discuss
Because we
it.
think,
And that
we
is how
think,
you
not
want-
this Monday, because we don't have an attorney to get
Tuesday.
it done.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or not
Yeah.
this next meeting, but the meeting after that, we should be able to present the council with a valid, passable hay storage ordinance.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that up, and yeah, I do appreciate that.
I better understand now why I better not run that stop sign, because
Because they are enforcing
you got
stop
people
signs
that
in other
enforce
areas.
one-way streets. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, weird.
Can't get on the highway, so you can't drive down the wrong way on that one-way street either.
Anything else, guys? Okay. I can get it if you want me to.
Geez, less than an hour.
Less than a half hour. We started at 8:04. 8:30, signing off.